Hi, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Well, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this meeting. I'm Zeida Guajardo. I hold a PhD in education. In my experience, I have directed teams, sorry. In my experience, I have directed teams of accreditations, curricular and instructional design in different universities. I have participated in research projects and presentations about competency-based education, educational assessment, citizen education, and gender issues. Currently, I'm the head of competency evaluation at Universidad Tec Milenio University. And today I will talk about promoting well-being through gender equity. This is the agenda. I will first give a small conceptual framework to explain what is well-being, discrimination, and gender equity. I will present the strategies to prevent gender discrimination and promote well-being both inside and outside the classroom. And finally, we will make a conclusion. Of course, at the end, we will have time for questions and answers. To begin, I'm going to ask you to do an initial practice. Please choose a basic education school in your mind. It may be where you currently work, where you have studied, your children's school, etc. Did everyone already choose a school in your head? Well, thinking about that school, answering the chat yes or no to the following questions. Irina, if you can, you please tell me the answers, please? Well, the first question is, at the school that you selected, the receptionists are women.
In my case, yes, but let's wait that everybody writes something.
Okay.
Have you imagined a school already? It could be your own place to work.
Well, Irina, did you answer yes to this question, right?
Right.
Okay, second question is, at the school you choose, the teaching staff is mainly made up of women. What's your answer?
Yes, it is.
Okay, let's go to the next one. At the school you choose it, there is a women's soccer team.
People in the room said yes, too.
Okay.
Oh, we have one no.
Uh-huh.
And two yes.
Okay. At the school that you selected, men take dance or ballet class.
No in my case, but let's wait for people.
Okay.
To answer this question. We usually no.
Usually no. Okay. Okay. This is the last one. At the school you choose it, the management staff is mainly made up of men. Think about the principal.
People said no. In my case, yes.
Okay, so please keep your answers in your mind. We will talk about it later. And let's start talking about well-being. The interest in the optimal functioning of people, fulfillment, and human flourishing has continued to increase. In the academic world, more and more authors are choosing to speak of well-being instead of happiness, since the word happiness tends to be associated only with joy, while well-being refers to something more complex. Seligman proposes that we should speak of well-being rather than happiness. Well-being is the result of the operationalization of several elements: positivity, engagement, positive relationships, meaning, and achievement. Now, let's talk about the differences between sex and gender. Sex is the set of biological, physiological, and chromosomal characteristics. We are born with these characteristics that are universal and cannot be changed. For example, only women can give birth. On the other hand, gender is a set of social characteristics. It's something we learn. Gender and roles associated with it can be changed. For example, both men and women can take care for infants and seniors. Well, the sex discrimination, sexism, and gender allows to visualize different forms of discrimination because of sex. It prejudges the existence of different capacities based on sex. It affects the totality of human relationships and reproduces in all areas of life. Sex discrimination and gender is present sometimes in a direct and forceful way, and many others subtle and almost invisible. I will now present a simple definition of gender equity, which can be understood as a process that ensures access of women and men to a set of knowledge, skills, and abilities that allow them to have better and more equal living conditions. The concept of well-being, sex, and gender has already been discussed, but how are they related? Just as there are predictors that can positively influence well-being, there are predictors that prognosticate an effect to the treatment of well-being. In a meta-analysis carried out in 2014, it was found that discrimination has a negative impact on all types of well-being: positive effects, life satisfaction, and self-esteem. It also has found that discrimination impacts more severely on children, and especially in those with low income. So if discrimination has a negative impact on well-being, will it be possible that we have gender discrimination in our schools? In 2012, a study was carried out in the city of Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico, which is the place where I live, the objective of which was to determine whether elementary school teachers exercise gender discrimination towards students. Among the results, it was found that teachers do exert gender discrimination both in public and private elementary schools that participated in the study. The conclusion of the study was that it's necessary to develop programs and implement specific strategies for prevention, detection, and resolution of gender discrimination exercised in schools. So let's start with the strategies to promote gender equity in the schools. First, I'm going to present some strategies that can be implemented in the classroom. I want to invite you to watch this video. Let me stop sharing and share the other screen.
This afternoon, we're going to draw people doing different jobs. And the first job we're going to draw is a firefighter.
Have a think in your head what a firefighter looks like.
Oh, we're doing the fire.
What's your firefighter called?
Mine's called Firefighter Gary.
Firefighter Stan. Firefighter Simon.
He's big and strong.
He's got a big helmet on.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Next, we're going to draw a surgeon.
Have you thought of a name for your surgeon?
Jim Bob.
Jim Bob.
He's a brain surgeon.
I think he would wear a stethoscope.
He gives you medicine. That's his ambulance.
Okay, next, we're going to draw a fighter pilot.
This is his jet plane.
He rescues people. He likes to do stunts in the air and stuff.
Okay, now who would like to meet these people for real?
They're dressed up.
My name's Tamsin and I'm a surgeon in the NHS.
My name's Lauren and I'm a pilot in the Royal Air Force.
My name's Lucy. I'm a firefighter in the London Fire Brigade.
So who wants to know how to do an operation?
Who's putting it on?
I'll try my stethoscope.
We put this in here. There you go. Now you're a proper fighter pilot.
So into your ears. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah, it's much better than my kids' one.
Okay, let me share my screen again. Well, what do you think about the video? The truth is that childhood very quickly assimilates what they can and cannot do based on their sex. Let's start with the strategies. About the posters and other materials in the classroom. In some classrooms, I have seen images like this. If we analyze the illustration, it can be seen there are different parameters regarding dress, messages, body expression, physical characteristics, and attitude in the roles to play assigned to boys and girls. For example, in the picture on the right, we see a robot doctor while the woman is a nurse, she's thin, wears high-heel shoes, and she has makeup on. What can we do about it? The invitation is to avoid the use of posters with androcentric images or that reproduce gender stereotypes, and to promote the use of varied images without roles limited by gender. About the examples given by teachers, we have to avoid using examples with gender stereotypes. Pablo's mother went to the market, Anna's father drives a taxi, and instead we have to give examples without gender stereotypes. Pablo's mother owns a company, Anna's father was cleaning the house when suddenly, etc. Why? Because childhood seems to assimilate very soon what they can and cannot do based on their gender. In this way, glass ceilings are created which indicate how far a person can go depending on whether they are born male or female, which of course limits human capabilities. Let's interact again. Please write in the chat, or Irina, if can you open your microphone, please. Do you recognize this soccer player? What's his name? Anybody?
Not even me. I'm so lost in sports, but let's wait for people to answer this question.
Okay, don't worry.
I think it's the Messi.
Yes, he is Lionel Messi, right. And now, do you recognize this other soccer player? I guess the silence means no.
Nobody's answering.
Okay, she's Megan Rapinoe, one of the captains of the United States soccer team who won gold last year in the FIFA Women's World Cup. What do I mean by these soccer examples? It is possible that as teachers, we give varied examples to our students without gender stereotypes. It is a matter of having conscience and will. If we are going to talk about artists, we present both men and women. If we are going to talk about professions, we present both men and women. A simple Google search can help us to achieve this goal. Let's talk about the teams that settle in the classroom and competitions we do. What should we avoid? A contest that pit men against women to solve problems on the board, for example. A better strategy is to make mixed teams where boys and girls collaborate. In addition, it's suggested to use the opportunity to promote teamwork. For this, we can take out the names of a tombola, use some technological tool, etc. The idea is that men and women work together, putting their skills at the service of other people instead of competing. Asking for help. It's very common for teachers to request help from students for some tasks in the classroom. Various studies have found that teachers ask girls to help in tasks that do not require physical effort, such as grading tasks and placing decorations in the classroom. Instead, boys are asked for help to go to the principal's office or to bring and carry things to the classroom. What should we promote? That both boys and girls clean where a liquid spills, for example, and that both boys and girls decorate the classroom on festivities such as Christmas, Independence Day, etc. Let's talk about the language and the treatment of teachers towards students. Studies conducted in countries such as Costa Rica and Spain have found differences in how teachers treat boys and girls. The findings indicate that boys are spoken lowly, while girls are spoken more softly and tenderly. In fact, in the treatment, there are also differences. Boys are treated rudely and energetically, while girls are treated more warmly and delicately. Here, the invitation is to avoid the use of appellatives like champion, princess, prairie, or phrases like boys do not cry or girls don't play like that, because these words and statements reinforce gender stereotypes. Let's talk about what happens outside the classroom. Regarding the use of playing space and courts, studies carried out in France, England, and Mexico have analyzed scenes like this one. This scene is very common on school fields. What can we see? The girls are sitting in the back as spectators, and the boys monopolize the field with their soccer game. What can we do? One strategy is to establish a schedule so that both girls and boys can use the fields and play soccer or any other sport. It is also recommended to promote that both girls and boys participate in the cheerleader club, for example. About the roles and positions in schools, in elementary schools, although teachers are in the majority, management positions are generally held by men. To this model, boys learn that later they will be the leaders in education, the government, the working world, society, and that women occupy a secondary place compared to men in the decision-making process at the same time that a ceiling for their ambitions is introduced into girls' minds. In this regard, what should we avoid? That the security guards are only men, that the receptionists are only women, that the principals are only men, and the teachers and secretaries are only women. Instead, let's promote that in our schools, there are both men and women in different roles and positions. About games, various investigations have found that the spirit of adventure is encouraged more in boys, and that the objects they use are stimulating, such as bicycles, skates, or balls. On the other hand, in schools, girls play with dolls and small kitchens. In this way, the world of creativity, adventure, and initiative belongs only to men and is not promoted equally in women. What can we do? What should we promote? Games with Legos, rounds, the use of small kitchens with neutral colors, balls and ropes for both boys and girls. About the participation of mothers and fathers, Miriam David Inacker points out that multiple elementary schools in England operate with the expectation that mothers participate in school activities. Even before boys and girls start going to school, mothers, especially middle-class mothers, are expected to educate them. Schools, especially in low-income situations and in socially disadvantaged areas, rely on free help from mothers to some school activities like preparing books and supporting class routines. Some of them are even teachers in other institutions. When nothing is done to encourage the attendance and presence of male parents or important male figures for girls and boys at school meetings and activities, the school uses and simultaneously perpetuates a sexual division of labor. What should we avoid? Blame only moms when students fail with a task or some other duty. Avoid phrases like mother doesn't prepare food for them and don't hold dad responsible. And prepare big festivals for Mother's Day and minimize Father's Day. Instead, let's encourage male parents to participate in different events, request specific tasks that must be resolved by male fathers, grandparents, or guardians, and give the same gifts to both moms and dads at the school festivals. In summary, these are 10 strategies plus one that we can use in schools to prevent gender discrimination and promote well-being. Number one, use posters with varied pictures without roles limited by gender. Number two, give examples without gender stereotypes. Remember, Maria's mother owns a company, Robert's father cleaned the house, etc. Number three, form mixed teams where men and women support each other instead of confronting according to gender. Number four, boys and girls clean when it's needed in the classroom or outside the classroom. Number five, men and women decorate classrooms on holidays. 6, use the same language for both boys and girls. 7, demonstrate affections to girls and boys alike or don't show it. 8, encourage both girls and boys to play with different toys. 9, establish schedules on the courts for both men and women to play sports. 10, hire both men and women to fill different roles at school. And 11, promote the participation of both fathers and mothers in the education of children. In conclusion, what we are looking for is to free the restrictive and stereotypical idea of what men or women can and cannot do depending on their sex. The invitation for teachers is to pay attention to the language we use, the behaviors we demonstrate, the materials and activities that we facilitate in the classroom. All this in order to contribute to the integral development of the potentials and capacities of both men and women to prevent gender discrimination and positively influence well-being. The final goal is to not limit human capabilities under any circumstances. So thank you very much for your attention. We have a few minutes to solve any question that may arise. Please ask the question in the chat, or if you prefer, you can open your microphone. I'm going to stop sharing the presentation. Do you have any question? Do you want to say something?
We have one question in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
¿Cómo introduces estos cambios con los papás?
Okay, can you translate it, please, for the people who don't
How do you introduce these changes or these proposals to the family in school?
Sí, mi recomendación es entablar diálogos con los padres y madres de familia y revisar los reglamentos. Es importante que los papás y las mamás estén familiarizados y que los reglamentos que tengamos en nuestras escuelas estén basados en fortalezas de carácter, en las capacidades de nuestros estudiantes y no estén, y en los intereses de nuestros propios estudiantes y no estén limitados por el uso por la razón del sexo. Entonces, en resumen, yo les recomendaría iniciar revisando las políticas de la escuela, los reglamentos de la escuela y después entablar el diálogo con los padres y las madres de familia. Irina, can you translate this, please?
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay. She recommends that we open the dialogue with family in the school. And the second advice that she gave us is that we review the policy and normativity that exists in our institution, so we can check if those agreements are based in competencies and skills orientated to character.
Yes, thank you. You're
Of
welcome.
course.
Okay, if you have any other questions, I would like to recommend some books that I use and I like. This one is in Spanish, Todos deberíamos ser feministas. In English is We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Adichie. I recommend also El Feminismo es para todo el mundo, de Bell Hooks. Feminist is for everybody. There is a version in English. And also I can recommend this one, Cuentos de Buenas Noches para Niñas Rebeldes. There is a version in English, Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls. And finally, and of course, this one, El Segundo Sexo, The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir. So if you don't have more questions, let me thank you again for joining this meeting and deserve you a very happy weekend. Have a nice weekend. Thank you. Thank you, Irina.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.